Today on Locked On Rockies, a series in which the Rockies could have gotten themselves a little bit more on track at Coors Field, ends up in the team narrowly avoiding a sweep.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 7th day of July in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. We, of course, are going to be breaking down the Colorado Rockies. I'm going to put this one in the frustrating series category. This was a series in which the Rockies were facing the worst road team in baseball, a team that's had the same road record as the Rockies had home record, and the Rockies get beaten 2 out of 3. Close game in the first one, but then dominated. And you should never be, it doesn't matter who you are, when the term dominated follows, the White Sox, that's a problem. This is not a team that should have come in and handled the Rockies as much as they did, but that's how it ended up. I mean, it was what we kind of previewed on Friday there, talked about our concerns. And boy, when you're talking about trade value of certain guys, they certainly, I think some people are going to raise some eyebrows at some of the Rockies veterans again, if they are indeed in any sort of trade talks. Before we continue today's episode, got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So that's my main takeaway is this is when we talk about the main issues with the Rockies, when we talk about the things that concern folks the most about Rockies, it's the fact that this offense is not able, this team, and I saw a couple of good tweets, and I apologize for the folks that I don't actually remember specifically who saw that. So this is stuff I saw on Rockies Twitter throughout the weekend here. Was the Rockies are a team right now built to fail in their home environment. They don't strike people out on the defensive side, and they strike out a ton on offense. One of the big reasons why the Rockies got so thoroughly beat down on Saturday was not just the fact that German Marquez was giving up a bunch of hits and the White Sox were able to do a bunch of damage on there, but it's the fact that this team can't stop striking out, and there's nothing less productive than striking out. The Rockies had 11 hits in that ball game, only able to score 3 times in that game, going 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position there, including Arcia going 0 for 2, Estrada going 0 for 2, Goodman going 0 for 3. It's just flat out unacceptable there for a team to go in there and be a problem. Now, I guess I forgot that this wasn't I swore that this was the one where the strikeouts were higher there, but there was only 3 strikeouts in this game. Wasn't there one? I might have had my wires crossed here. Was that the first game? I thought they had another. It might have been misremembering the day where the Rockies had a double-digit strikeouts, but nope, they didn't have it in the first one. And I think I've just misheard the broadcast there. And in the finale, they had 6. Okay, so no, the Rockies did not strike out of 4. I'm sorry, there's 4 there. The Rockies did not strike out. I might have been looking. I'm looking on my different usual website. There, let's see. Yeah, okay. It was only. I totally read that wrong. My apologies there. Regardless, though, if it wasn't big strikeouts, it was just the lack of production. We've said time and time again here the issue of the lack of clutch, right? We've seen in the finale, we've seen Ryan McMahon come up with the runners and with bases loaded and down on strikes. It's just frustrating to see that this offense couldn't break free and put together that clutch at bat that they needed to against a team that has struggled mightily and given some free opportunities as well. But I think one of the main takeaways too is just all of the main trade candidates for the Rockies this series took a hit. just about all of them. This was something I saw there, but you're talking about Ryan McMahon. He was able to come up with runners in scoring position in that first game, but not throughout the whole series. We saw, of course, German Marquez, a regression type of a game, another moment where he hasn't been able to kind of fully break out like you're hoping for. And it's against the White Sox of all teams. Like, this was a team that really struggled on the road here, and the Rockies were unable to do much against them. They were able to get some hits and score some runs, but to be held to 2 runs in that first game and to have 8 strikeouts there still, like I mentioned, not as the 11 as I was talking about, but way too many there in those situations. And going 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position in that first game. And you saw the difference in that third game when the Rockies are able to drive some guys in. Use the long ball, certainly, and a great day for Mickey Moniak there. In the finale, there's still 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. So it's such a huge problem, and that needs to be a strength. You need to be able to be the team that does the damage when you have those opportunities. That's why, it seems like we've said it time and time again. These other teams can come in and take advantage of being at Coors Field. We saw, especially in that game 2 there, and in the finale, 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position for the White Sox there. But you're going back to that game 2 there for the White Sox. When you're looking at that, they are 5 for 15 with runners in scoring position. Not great, but certainly still had some situations in which they were able to get the job done when they needed to. This was a moment where the Rockies could have kind of shown that June swoon, that June improvement on offense was something that could have catapulted them to a stronger series on offense. And unfortunately, in terms of run scoring, that didn't happen. But the Rockies, 11 hits there in that middle game, and then in the finale, they're picking up. They got 8 hits there. So, they were able to get the job done on offense in terms of getting the hits there, but driving in those runners, getting it out of hand, making those pitchers uncomfortable at Coors Field, falling a little bit short on something we've seen time and time again this season. But I wanted to kind of just circle back again there to my point about some of the trade values of these guys. I mean, we're looking right now at Ryan McMahon batting .209, .312, .373 average OBP and slugging. Another strikeout here. He got his 800th hit in this series, which was good to see, but 0 for 1 with runners in scoring position in this one, in the finale. And just so many times that we've seen this, just, man, what is his, if he can't bounce back, if he can't avoid his a down month, what is the market truly going to look like for Ryan McMahon? How far is Ryan McMahon's glove going to be able to carry him when it comes to the trade market? There was reports already of the Yankees reaching out. The question, why wait? I mean, if at this point, what is the point of waiting until the trade deadline? If you can get a deal, or why not take it? Why not take what you can here? Because the trends that we've seen as Ryan McMahon would to get that 800th hit broke a lengthy slump. How long can you allow yourself to have Ryan McMahon have series where he struggles against the White Sox at home and teams kind of just start to go, I'm good on that. I'm not interested in that. How long can I mean, or if teams saw the German Marquez before and they were like, okay, that's intriguing. How many more starts do you really, at Coors Field do you want to give him, where he can have these situations where he can get blown up like this and go 11 hits, 6 earned, 2 strikeouts, and a walk? I mean, that's some big damage they've done against German. And I will say with the one thing, though, looking back on it with some of the stuff of German, the hits have still been a problem, but the earned runs up until that White Sox game, he had only allowed in his the 4 out of the last 5 starts, 2 earned runs at the most there. Did have a couple of games with +5 strikeouts in that 5 start stretch. So the numbers were starting to look good. I do wonder what the hesitation is. And of course, there might not be the options they think there, or the interest might not start bubbling up until the trade deadline gets to be right around the corner. But there is some I think there is some that was an interesting little kind of thread I was following on social medias there about just the hesitancy. The Rockies only trade in spring training, training, and maybe at the trade deadline, and it's like they have to be on these specific dates, these at these specific times, because they won't do it anything outside of that. So these type of series, that what's frustrating, and on top of the fact that it's another home series loss, a historic home series loss for the Rockies. I need to look up that, and I'll get that to you in segment number 2. But this is another situation in which you tell yourself, like, okay, like, where do you go from here? Where do you go from losing to a bad White Sox team 2 out of 3 at home and get thoroughly dismantled on the scoreboard in one of them? How do you respond to here? What type of impact is this going to have on trading the veterans here? And how do the Rockies build from this? We'll have to see what they do here, and we will be breaking it all down and kind of reacting to some more stats from around Rockies Twitter and more coming up next. And of course, the exciting, the good news in terms of the Rockies: Hunter Goodman is an all-star. Before we dive into that, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. It keeps all those stuff, the little things, the streaming services, the delivery, going out to eat, that type of stuff. You're going to know, and you're going to see the impact it's having on your budget. And you can have it all in that one app. So it's super easy, super streamlined. You don't have to be opening a bunch of stuff. You don't have to clog up your phone's home screen with all sorts of apps for all your different resources there. And it's easy to share your finances with someone there on Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. Just like Christopher said on the our crossover on Friday before. Thanks, Paul and Todd. This felt like talking ball at the bar, and I enjoyed the casual back and forth vibe with two knowledgeable hosts with, unfortunately, a lot in common. Paul, you should do us a Locked On Rockies meetup next time you're coming to Coors, so we can all talk shop. Hey, if next time I make it out, not a bad idea. But so I kind of got jumbled up there with my strikeout thing. It kind of threw off my groove there in the beginning of that in that first segment. But my main takeaway, I think, is just this. This was for young guys, it's one thing. Chase Dolander, another kind of struggle where it's starting to be like, oh boy, did we rush this? Did we overlook this? Is this too much? Is this the right type of introduction to the league? Is this the right type of challenge for Chase here? Did he need some more time? Did the Rockies, have the Rockies overcommitted to this in this year? But it's guys like Ryan McMahon. It's guys like the veteran players on this team that should be able to come up and be the ones that lead the way to doing damage in this series. To go up and see that this is a team that has struggled. This is a team that's got more rookies on it and more rookies on the 26-man roster than the Rockies did. And instead, it was an example that the Rockies have of, look, this team just hit that rock bottom, and they're ahead of you already. They're ahead of you again. They handled the Rockies. I believe the broadcast said going into last night's game, it was now they had won 5 of 6 against the Rockies, the White Sox. So now 5 of 7 they've won against the Rockies here, which is not a good thing at all. Which is to have that team come into your ballpark and have them to struggle as much as they do, and for that to be the performance, for that to be the way that series went, man, that's just not acceptable from the competitive side of it. We've said the word that's unacceptable a lot of things, but for it to feel like the White Sox were thoroughly beating you, it's just a massive problem. It just shows that the construction of this roster, and from the top down should be scrutinized. And again, this is another series in which this has to be a reflection of front office, not just the players on the field as well. This is the team put together. This is the team now. You can say there's no Tovar and such, that's a factor. But this is a team that, again, has continued to not step up and not rise to the occasion to handle challenges. They've they've lost the close games. A team like the White Sox comes into town and they're the ones doing the damage on offense. It's a frustrating series in which that needs to be repercussions from. But again, we wonder what those repercussions actually will be, especially when you're talking about the repercussions need to be happening at more of an off the field level. Again, I'm not saying that's get rid of Warren Schaefer now and all this stuff, but it's like, again, Darryl Scott's still hanging on to his job right now. What's the plan there? As we have, as these guys that he's been working with and that have been a part of it have struggled and struggle at home. They can't miss bats. What are you doing to address those issues there with those guys and the concerns that you have with the development of these young arms that you have coming up and guys like Chase? How do you get Chase to start being successful at Coors Field? What do you need to start doing there? What do you need to start looking into there? These are the type of questions and these are the type of answers the Rockies need to start finding and they need to start looking into immediately. And I just don't know if that's what they're going to do. So that's what stinks about this series, not just losing to a team that on paper you should be able to beat, but it's veteran guys not being able to come up in big situations. It's a reminder that this roster and this lineup and where the state of the team isn't good enough to beat the other worst team in baseball. The Rockies had a chance to show that they weren't the worst team in baseball, and they failed that test. The worst road team in baseball came to their house and beat them 2 out of 3 times. That's how it went. Those are the results. And again, that's the type of stuff that just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. The stuff that you are excited about, though, is the fact that Hunter Goodman makes the All-Star game here, and he is well deserving of this. This is a guy that has been incredible for the Rockies, and shout out to there was definitely an everydayer out there that was saying, look out for Hunter Goodman. Look out for what he's going to do and his impact on the Rockies roster. He is batting. This year he's got those 16 home runs, 50 RBI. He's got 3 triples, 18 doubles now. Walked 18 times as well in those 80 games played. Right now, his batting average on the season, let me see here, is 281, 16 home runs, 50 RBI, like we said, in an OPS of 843. Let's see if I think I fired off a. Here's what Troy Rennick says of. He was voted. His 16 home runs and 50 RBI are both the most by a Rockies catcher at the break. The Rockies now in 2 out of the last 3 years for their lone representative at the All-Star game is a catcher, which is kind of interesting and crazy when you think about that as well. But good for Hunter Goodman here, and it'll be an opportunity for him to go out and be around some guys and hopefully be able to. Yeah, I don't know how much you actually can kind of gain. I don't know how much learning you get to do there. But what Hunter Goodman gets to do is gets to go around and be around the successful folks of baseball, the guys that have been that are the ones that do damage on the field, the guys that are part of winning teams and coaching staffs and all this stuff. He's going to be able to be around some folks where I think you never know what he might be able to pick up and learn, but he's going to be in the company of the players that's the standard that he's going to want for himself, to be the all-star, to be the guy that can carry the Rockies. During the interview he did when the Rockies were interviewing him during the broadcast, he was talking about really coming and really enjoying being in that full-time catcher role. He's going to be around, it'll be on the AL side, but Cal Raleigh's going to be there. Will Smith is going to be there. There's going to be these catchers, these guys that are total game changers at a very, very difficult position. And Hunter Goodman is going to find himself around there. Hopefully we get to see him in the ball game. And as the last time the Rockies catcher got into the game late, it was a go-ahead bomb there from Elias Diaz, which was awesome to see. But this was well deserved for Hunter Goodman, and it shows that when you And I think that this is a good sign, I think, for these other guys too, for these young guys, as this team is going through all this stuff, is even throughout this, if you keep putting the work in, if you keep grinding, if you keep going after it, you're going to be finding yourself in a situation where you could be an all-star. I mean, Hunter Goodman, that's a huge milestone to be able to knock off early in his career. And now he wants to set that as the tone, that should be the standard here, as the Rockies are looking for him to provide some fireworks and provide some damage here. I wanted to read a tweet from Patrick Lyons here about just the Rockies and their recent all-star selections here. The Rockies have just one representative for the 2025 All-Star game. It's the 5th year in a row that from 2021 to 2025 with only one. Previously, 2 years was the most they have ever gone without earning 2 selections to the Midsummer Classic. So when we're talking about roster construction, when we're talking about player development, when we're talking about helping and getting players to take that next stage, 5-year window of that not happening. And I think you can kind of piece that together in a 5-year window of a certain person being in charge and being in charge of putting this team together. Those things shouldn't be ignored there. But the good news is Hunter Goodman going out to represent the Rockies, and I hopefully has a good chance to get at least in that bat in that ball game here. And we'll see what happens. Hey, the Rockies did something a little bit interesting with Brenton Doyle this weekend, and I think this was one thing that was some smart managing a little bit. And while it didn't lead to massive comebacks or anything like that, it did see that Brenton Doyle came out, and when he was called upon in this series, he was able to come out and be effective. And I think that these type of things might be the small little steps that can help Brenton Doyle start piecing things together. And we got to talk about some Chris Bryant news coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Welcome back into Locked On Rockies, segment number 3 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So there was an interesting move made by the Rockies management here. Brenton Doyle was not in the starting lineup of this in this series. And the reason was Warren Schaefer wanted to give him some time to clear his head and kind of reevaluate and just kind of re-lock in with some stuff. And this comes in the wake of Brenton Doyle at least turning some stuff around. Again, you'd like to see multi-hit games, but in his last 4 games before the series there, he had gotten hits in at least 4 of those. A couple of multi-strikeout games there, but he was starting to put some things together. But I like this approach to continue to kind of navigate what is an interesting Brenton Doyle situation. Because again, as much as we've just focused on the on the field stuff and all those on the field issues and things like that, the context of Brenton Doyle's off the field life is very important for where he's at. I know I bring that up a lot, but I think it's a pretty important part of the story. But I think this was a moment where you can see that's a manager being able to have an honest conversation with this guy for Brenton Doyle to also be, not scoffing, not bouncing, but not being defensive about it, not trying to make a big deal out of it. Instead, takes the step back, reflects on it, but then knows that his manager could still be turning to him and knows that the game could still find him. And what does he do? He gets a pinch hit home run as well. And then he comes in late in the ball game in the finale, and he's able to contribute in the finale as well with a base knock. And of course, being able to be a factor on defense there, nothing crazy on the defensive side, but able to come in and be effective there. He both times he was called to pinch hit in this series, he got a base knock. He's now reached, in a few games in a row, he's getting back on base. It seems like the things might slowly start building up that little bit more of the confidence there and finding a little bit more of a groove here for Brenton Doyle as we continue to navigate that. And I just thought that was an interesting approach there. And I wonder, what that type, you take a little bit of that time off, let Mickey Moniak have a chance to go out and do what he did. A monster day for Mickey Moniak, another day where he goes out and does damage with extra base hits, having the home run and the triple there. A fascinating type of look there for Mickey Moniak as the Rockies, if you missed it, did DFA Sam Hilliard. He did clear waivers and I believe is back in AAA. for the Rockies. Now with Moniak, having his chance to kind of fill in for Doyle, and we'll see with the Rockies how long they're going to go with Yanquiel Fernandez there, who gets a couple of base knocks in this series, is able to do a couple of things. So as much as this one was a frustrating one, there were some small things that's kind of started popping up and happening here with the Rockies that were encouraging, that are always a good sign here for the club. But I think one of the things that was an interesting approach from Schaefer there with Brenton Doyle, and then for him to come out and be successful in those at bats there, the limited at bats, both of them being, I believe, extra base hits. It was a home run and I believe a double he hit there in his other appearance. That's good. That's a good sign for the Rockies, for Brenton Doyle, and going back with the fact that he's got himself a little multi-game hitting streak going on now here. That's good for the confidence as well. What's not good for the confidence of Kris Bryant is possible back surgery here. And I want to read to you what is the latest there from the Rockies' big highest paid player here. Here is Thomas Harding reporting. DH Kris Bryant said his back still isn't responding to running, but he is able to work out and do light running. He plans a phone consultant with a New York doctor tomorrow, and he will visit another doctor in Dallas as he considers experimental treatment shy of surgery. With his back disc issue, Rockies DH Kris Bryant says the surgery would be fusion and would make returning as a pro athlete difficult. After a strengthening program and ablation procedure this year, he is seeking something that will get him on the field this year. When is that timetable? I don't know, man. That I continue to feel for Kris Bryant, the player, but the diagnosis and that stuff is continuing to not trend in the right direction for the Rockies there. And for him to get on the field, this is going to be the third different thing, or the third or fourth different thing he's going to try. Harding mentioned a couple of things that he's already done this year, and if you're not able to start running, and it's July 6th. I mean, the season, as crazy it is, we're over halfway now. There's less than half of the season left at this point. We're looking at the thing where the season's going to start moving faster and faster for these teams, and your opportunities to return. And at that point, Kris Bryant taking at bats for you from some guys that should be getting opportunities at the end of the season or in the post-trade deadline world for the Rockies, he cannot be the priority anymore. You should not prioritize getting Kris Bryant back on the field this year to help you do what? To help you avoid being the worst team in baseball? You need to do that long before Kris Bryant's going to be back to be able to help you out at this timetable. If he's not able to run and he's got to go look at something else and he's got to go through another program, then he's got to rehab, then he's got to get game ready at minor league level, then he's got to get here. If you're gonna waste opportunities for guys to have at bats if Zach Veen's not going to be able to have another chance at the major leagues at the end of the year or after the trade deadline because you're focused on getting Kris Bryant back, that's unacceptable. That can't be the motive or the hope or the focus for the Rockies. Kris Bryant is not going to come and save this season. Kris Bryant is not going to come and save everything. We've seen when he's on the field, he hasn't been able to be the impact bat of the past. So when I see this stuff, it just needs to be, if you're going to commit to this, if you're going to look for something that's going to get you on the field this year, that needs to have already been decided. The season is so far underway, and the procedures and everything that he's going to need to get back on the field, that just doesn't match up with the Rockies' timetable, especially when you're looking at guys that should be given another chance. Zach Veen deserves another chance at the big leagues. These other, the right field needs to be specifically reserved for guys that need that the Rockies are having call up and make their debuts. Or whoever's going to be trying to make their case for the roster here. You need to continue to use that because and first base should be at this point. I guess Tolia, the question marks are still there, especially with the strikeouts, but let Tolia continue to just kind of figure it out and go through it as he continues to try to figure out the swings and see as many pitches as possible, get as many at bats as possible to start unlocking something or figuring something out in his swing. But I don't know. That was just an interesting wrinkle there as it's a storyline that can continue that flies under the radar as the Rockies do have Kris Bryant on the roster as the highest paid player, but another year where he's going to miss over half and more of the season on the IL. Rockies now go and try to take on a Red Sox team on the road, a Red Sox team that has been playing good baseball, including leading the way for them is Trevor Story. Rockies have lost 3 out of their last 5. Red Sox have won 4 out of their last 5, sweeping away the Nationals and doing a lot of damage on offense, outscoring the Nationals by a score of 27-9 in that 3-game stretch. And they have scored around at least 4 runs in their last 5 games here. So this is going up against Rockies pitching that has given up a lot. But the good news is Richard Fitz on the bump for the Red Sox in the opener, 0-3, 4.50 ERA. 1.25 whip, and has allowed 7 home runs this year. So if the Rockies offense can get after it and get going early, that's going to be the tone setter. That's got to be the thing you got to do. Folks, thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are wrapping things up for today. So thank you so much again for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night, where they got you covered with all the games, breaking all down all the action for you. And you can also check out Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs if you need more Colorado sports action. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.